Hi, my name is Taylor Klein, and today I'm going to be going over the divisibility rules. So, first off, what is divisibility? Divisibility is when you're able to divide a certain number by another number, and the result or the outcome is a whole number. So, there's some different rules when it comes to it. First of all, we're going to start with the number one. The divisibility rule when it comes to one is that one is divisible by every number is divisible by one. And then two, the divisibility rule for two is if the end of a number is an even number or a zero, two can go into it. And then the divisibility rule for five is that if a number ends in a 5 or 0, 5 can go into it and it's divisible. And then the divisibility rule for 10 is if the number ends in a 0, 10 can go into it. All right. So our first number is 2. So a number that is divisible by 2 would be 6. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3. Now 3 is a whole number, so that means yes, that 6 is divisible by 2. So this let me make my dots bigger so it doesn't look like subtraction. There we go. So since 2 can go into 6 3 times, it works. And then a number that is not divisible would be if we did, say, 7 divided by 2. 7 divided by 2 would be 3.5. And 3.5 is not a whole number. This is in fact a decimal. So this would not work. So because 2 does not evenly go into 7, it means 7 is not divisible by 2. And let me erase my whiteboard real quick. And our next number is 3. Alright, so a number that is divisible by 3 is 9. So 9 divided by 3 equals 3. And since, once again, 3 is a whole number, so this means yes, this problem works. 9 is divisible by 3. And then a number that would not work, for instance, let's use 17. So 17 divided by 3 equals 5.6. And 5.6 is a decimal, meaning that 17 is not divisible by 3. We just have to remember that the rule, if the answer is a whole number, that means it's divisible. So decimals are not whole numbers, so they're not divisible. So the next one is 4. So 12 divided by 4 equals 3. Wow, lots of my answers are 3. Sorry, did not mean to do that on purpose. 3 is a whole number, so yes, 12 is divisible by 4. And if we chose a number like 21 divided by 4, that would not work because the answer is 5.25. So once again, we have a decimal, meaning no, 21 is not divisible by 4. Let me erase my whiteboard again. And the next number is 5. So if you remember, the rule for 5 is if a number ends in a 0 or a 5, that number is divisible by 5. So let's choose 155. Divided by 5. Now 155 ends in a 5, so that means it is divisible by 5, and the answer would be 31. Now 31, once again, is a whole number, so yes, that checks out. Now, a number that doesn't end in a 5, let's do 21 divided by 5. 21 does not end on a 5 or 0, so it is not divisible. You would actually get 5.25 as your answer. And once again, decimals are not whole numbers, so this does not work. Now, if this 1 was a 0 and we had 20, it would be divisible by 5 because we get a 4, because 0 is part of the rule, so that one would work. Okay, let's erase my board again. And the next number is 9. All right, so for 9, let's do 18 divided by 9. 18 divided by 9 is 2, and 2 is a whole number, so that checks out. 18 is divisible by 9. But if we chose 64 divided by 9 equals 7.1. Now 7.1 is once again, let me make this darker. Once again a decimal, so it does not go into it evenly, so 64 is not divisible by 9. Alright, and erasing my board one last time. And our last one is 10, our last number. So if you remember the rules for 10, it's if any number ends in a 0, 10 is divisible, or it's divisible by 10. So let's do 360. 360 divided by 10 equals 36. Now, since 36 is a whole number, it checks out, it works, it's divisible. And if we chose 122, let's go with that, divided by 10. Now, while it is an even number, it's not a 0, so it does not go into it. We'd get 12.2. And as we all know by now, or we should know by now, a decimal is not a whole number, so it does not check out. Alright, so those are the rules of divisibility. Let's go over them one more time. First of all, divisibility is a number divided by another number results in a whole number. So the divisibility rule for 1 is 1 can go into every number, and every number, I also forgot to add, every number can go into itself because it equals 1. And then the divisibility rule for 2 is that if the number ends in an even number or a 0, it's divisible by 2. Divisibility rule for 5 is if it ends in a 5 or a 0, 5 is that number is divisible by 5. And last rule, the divisibility rule for 10 is if a number ends in a 0, 10 can go into it. Thank you for watching.